Welcome everyone to whatever this thing is going to be called. We're gonna do an audio podcast, and I'm Mitch, as you probably already know, except you can't see me because it's a podcast and it's audio, and that's how that works. I'm here with Blake and
Hello.
Sparksy and Alex,
Hey.
and I cut off everyone. How you doing, Blake? You alright over there, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad we're finally doing this thing. We've been talking about making a podcast of some shape for a while now. We decided on the rewatch format, but I'm down. I haven't watched the show in forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've just kind of you've jumped in there and explained exactly what the podcast is going to be about. We're gonna watch an episode of Pokemon every week, and then we're just gonna talk about how bad it is and make fun of it because the anime's kind of average. And Sparksy, this is a thing that's close to your heart.
It's so close to my heart. I love the anime. I don't want you talking trash on it. It's amazing. I've got so
We
many
won't get
things
along.
to discuss. That's for sure. Also, speaking of intros, throwing it back to another content creator, did you see the Purple Cliff intro where he started streaming when he was meant to start recording?
I did see that. That was quite amusing.
Very funny.
The amount of times I've accidentally clicked start streaming as well, it's a very real risk that people take.
The 5 seconds of panic to stop streaming before people will start tuning in to nothing.
Well, the worst part was for Purple Cliff, he clicked the start streaming and then didn't realise he wasn't recording and was just going for it. Disastrous. How you
Hopefully
doing,
they didn't
Alex?
go into any X-rated websites.
Alex, you're not normally on the channel. How are you doing?
I'm really excited to be here.
Very
in my
excited?
First piece of content.
You're a
Usually
content making
I appear
machine.
randomly with some quips and off I go.
Yep.
But I'm here to stay, and I'm so glad we get to use all those 13 box sets of Pokemon episodes we've got in the house.
Excellent investment. It was. It is an excellent investment, and I will say nothing negative about them.
I've supported them in so many other ways. I decided to watch it for free on my not free on my Netflix subscription.
Well,
so
and
there's
it's
that.
interesting that you say that, Blake, because if you are hearing this or watching this on the Sableyes YouTube channel, then feel free to watch the episode with us. You can watch it on Netflix in Australia. I don't know where else you can watch it in the world, but I know that they actually put them on the Pokemon.com website, so you can actually go there and watch the episodes for free. So that's fantastic news. Now,
It's a great service.
the way this is going to work, firstly, the intros aren't normally going to be this long, but also, you need to come up with a name. Someone needs to come up with a name for this, because I don't want to come up with a name for it, because...
Name our podcast. I'll give you 10 BST packs on PTCGO.
There you go. That's a big... Whew.
I'm gonna float it out there right now for you guys listening. I'm a big fan of Alex's idea that she suggested before, which is the Drying Pan podcast. I don't care if it's relevant whatsoever to what we're talking about. I think it sounds hilarious, and it's probably the most meme-worthy part about this whole anime that I care about. So
I really like that idea would, for those who have never seen the Pokemon anime and
makes
they're
it-
so confused, but then it'll be a beautiful little
Yeah.
Easter egg that
Yeah,
they'll
exactly.
find along the way.
Halfway through, they can be like, oh, that's what they're talking about.
Oh, that's the name of the show. Oh, now I get it. I'm
the
on
Drag
board.
Pen was in the movie, wasn't it? It wasn't even...
No, it wasn't. Man, you call
Really?
yourself a fan.
Oh,
Jeez.
no. I'm gonna have
Well,
to
it's a
catch
good
up on
thing
that.
we're watching along here.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll learn together.
So essentially what's going to happen is I will recount the events of the episode, and then we'll make fun of bits periodically where we'll take in some neat little notes.
And
And
appreciate
And we'll also randomly go on to tangents about stuff that's completely irrelevant to the podcast, like how Purple Cliff accidentally started streaming one time.
yeah, well, we've already done that, so we're well on
We got-
track for
It's
some
on
We got the
perfect...
first one out of the way.
Yeah, some perfect podcast stuff. Alright, so if we're watching the first episode of Pokemon, it starts quite aptly in the same way that the video games start. With Pokemon Red and Blue, we see a Gengar fighting a Nidorino.
I love this.
And
I forgot
it,
that they did this.
It transitions quite nicely, and we see that it is, in fact, a matchup in some sort of stadium. And I think it's actually Bruno that's using the Nidorino.
Yeah,
the question
I
that
made a
have to
note of
ask-
that.
The question I have to ask is, does Bruno ever use an attack that isn't normal type against this Gengar? Because he uses Horn Attack, and then he uses Tackle, right?
Did you notice that they also don't mention that it's Bruno?
Yeah, it's just some random shadow.
He's just a silhouette, yeah, but it's
They
definitely
just
Bruno's
say the
silhouette.
trainer. They don't even say Bruno, they just say the trainer. And
It's
also,
just the trainer, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
love how Bruno's part of the Elite Four, but he can't evolve his Nidorino.
Yeah, can't be bothered to go to Mount Moon and
Ned
pick
is
up a
top
Moonstone.
4 Pokemon
He also-
trainer in the region. He can't
he
find
also-
a Moonstone.
Also doesn't know that normal attacks don't work on ghost types,
Yeah.
so there you go.
Yeah.
Even
Well-
I know that. Even I know that you can't touch a ghost.
I know, it's ridiculous. And
Also,
Here's a question for you as well. Is there ever an attack that either Nidorino or Onyx use that could ever, like, take a knockout on a Gengar? I know the Gengar's pretty fragile, but surely Gengar goes first every time and just takes a straight-up knockout. Like, surely there's no way, right?
I mean, sure, if you look at it that way, but I mean, Onyx could KO a Gengar if it was over-leveled or something.
At this point, Gengar doesn't have Levitate, though, so...
That is true. That is
You'd
true.
hit it with a dig or an EQ.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, we see this interesting matchup, and obviously then we pan out and we see that we are in fact in Ash's room, and we see a whole bunch of interesting things around Ash's room. I want to draw your attention to the Poliwag pencil sharpener, where.
I thought that was a Nerf gun bullet that was on its head. I didn't realize that was a pencil sharpener. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, it's a Poliwag with a pencil in its mouth. It looks very strange.
I thought it was a Nerf bullet.
we have a Zubat mobile as well. I mean, Ash is 10, so I guess he could probably be.
Still got his mobile.
Yeah, he's allowed to still have that up. And then what else is there? There's a
there is a bug catcher net in the background. So I've noticed that every boy seems to go through a bug catcher phase at some point in his life.
They must do.
So every boy must go through that phase where he's a bug catcher and has 6 Caterpies and Weedles.
Yep.
Anyone, Blake? Anyone can go through that phase.
Yeah, well, Alex is here for the diversity, Blake. She's gonna put you in your place straight away.
Yes, Alex, the diversity hire.
Any person can catch a bug.
Going back to the Poliwag as well, it touches on a little Easter egg that I've got later in the thing where they do the Pokérap at the end, and I don't know if you noticed, but it said Poliwrath in the first verse of the Pokérap.
Oh yeah, they get that wrong, don't they?
Picture of Poliwag. And then it has a Poliwag in the second verse. So it's Poliwag twice.
It's a very, very highly produced piece of music.
I know. I was like, I reckon I could have put that together. But...
Well, also, we skipped over this a little bit, but did anyone else notice that you've never seen a green Pokeball before in your life, which Bruno recalls his Nidorino into?
What is that? Is that a Safari Ball?
Yeah.
No, it hasn't got camo on it or anything. It's just like a moss green topped regular looking Pokeball.
I mean, Bruno also doesn't have a name, so that probably trumps the whole green Pokeball sort of thing. I feel like
it could be
this to happen.
It could be.
I mean,
Bruno's,
he has an Onyx, and it's definitely the silhouette. It's clearly evoking Bruno.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
There's actually an Etsy market in the middle of customizations. Of course. I mean, at that level, you should be able to customize your own Pokeballs, right?
Yeah, they cut out the scene at the start where Bruno's sitting in the changing rooms and he's painting all his Pokeballs different colours.
He's just putting those glittery stones on like the back of his mobile phone case.
Dazzling it.
Like he's on Pokemon Diamond or Platinum or whatever it is, whether you go into the and so we're watching this matchup, and then obviously Ash's mum bursts in and says, "What are you doing awake at 11 o'clock?" and then asks Ash instead to watch this educational program where Professor Oak.
Yeah, if you're gonna stay up past your bedtime, at least watch something educational.
Well, here's a question. So this program, Professor Oak is talking about the merits of each of the starter Pokemon. I'm talking about not Blastoise, my god, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. Here's a question, right? Is this show live?
I mean,
no, it's definitely a rerun.
Surely Professor Oak is in bed. He's an old man.
Like, why is it on at 11 o'clock? It's clearly targeted at 10-year-old people. It's been established that they should be in bed. Why is this on?
My belief is that it's a channel that simply just runs the infomercial over and over and over again.
I think that's very viable. I think that's most likely the explanation.
You won't believe what Pokemon you can pick up when you're 10.
Just call this number.
10 things you don't know about Bulbasaur.
Yeah, the next 500 callers get this free. Okay, well, at least that's solved. At least now I know. And then Ash has his big old, his lovely dreams, and eventually his clock is broken, and oh, what a disaster.
I made a note here. Ash's mum doesn't wake him up. Bad mum.
Yeah. And yeah, she was making a big deal about how he has to be awake early, and she's packed all of his stuff, including the clothes that he was wearing when she told him to go to bed. So why did she not wake him up?
My
Maybe it was
question is,
Marnie's
why
job.
does he not know what a Pidgey is, despite the fact it's on his alarm clock?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, later in the episode, he has to look it up, doesn't he?
Can I go back a little bit?
yeah, of course.
Ash,
Absolutely.
when he couldn't get to sleep, is that everybody else before a tournament, or is that just me? Or before you go to a big card tournament, are you able
No,
to sleep?
I'm usually pretty confident that I'm going to win, Sparksy, so I don't
Yeah,
get
that's-
nervous like that.
I don't. I don't really think that much about it. I just sleep.
I just
I'm
assume,
like,
to
I
be
get
honest,
anxious before the tournament.
I just
not
assume
the
that
night
I'm.
before.
I just assume that I'm going to lose, so I just don't worry about it.
Sparksy,
I don't-
Yeah, there's that.
Sparksy,
Yeah.
do you not sleepwalk when you get nervous? You just pick things up in your sleep and throw
Yeah,
them
I
across
just
the room
yeet
to
my
shatter
phone
against the
across the
opposite
room.
wall? Is that...
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah,
Sparksy
but you're
before a
trying to
tournament is
correct
just like
sick Pokemon to start with, you.
Sparksy before a tournament wakes up and finds all of his cards are scattered on the ground after he's chucked his deck out the window.
No, my Center Scorch VMAX.
Oh man, and so we move on. We Ash wakes up and obviously has to run to Professor Oak's to catch up, and we find that Gary Oak is already there, and he's already picked his Pokemon, and he says specifically that he's picked the best Pokemon, so he picked Charmander, right?
No, he picked
didn't.
Squirtle.
Yeah.
Did he? Is that actually a thing?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because Ash gets a Charizard and he always fights Gary's Blastoise in
Really?
the anime. Yeah.
Well, there you
Yeah.
go.
So it's canon that Blastoise is the best.
There you go.
Also, I have a note here. Gary has a fan club before he's done anything noteworthy except existing as Professor Oak's grandson. So there you go.
I have a
He
note
wears a
here.
nice
Did the
shirt.
10-year-old hire the cheerleaders?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because those cheerleaders are clearly in high school. Gary's 10.
Clearly.
Clearly.
They all look, the 10-year-olds in the high schoolers all look the same if that's the case, because they're the same height.
Can you put a poll on this podcast, Mitch, so the viewers can vote? Can you make it, did the 10-year-old hire the cheerleaders? That is
Did
the
they
poll.
hire
Yes
the
or no?
cheerleaders?
I've also made a note here. Gary has a lot of charisma and gravitas for a 10-year-old, and also apparently his own limo service.
He does. He has his own limo. He also has a crowd of people, and in that crowd, there's a man with no eyes. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
So in the background, and I'll try and edit it in here. Then we can just zoom in on this guy's face on the visual. part
What's
of the podcast.
what's the timestamp for
He
me
has-
here?
he
I
has
can
no
come
eyes.
back to it.
I
Do you have
can't
a
remember
timestamp?
exactly when it is, but good grief, it's frightening. He's got glasses on, but no eyes.
Pokemon tackling ableism before it was...
Well, it's like he has no eyes, but he's got glasses on.
Well,
hang on.
Seen it.
Oh yeah, I see him. Yeah, behind the cheerleaders. Behind the cheerleaders,
Yeah.
like just no eyes whatsoever. So that guy is literally, by all accounts of bullies everywhere, he has two eyes because
He's he's
his
got
glasses
2 eyes,
count
yeah.
for two, and then he's got no eyes behind them.
Maybe that's why he's wearing them, just to compensate. Alex, you were going to say something?
I was going to say about Gary's interaction with Ash. If there's only 3 to 4 10-year-olds in this town at any given time in
Yeah.
order for them to get Pokemon, how does Gary not know who Ash is if there's only 3 to 4
Yeah, that's because
10-year-olds at any
obviously
given time?
all the Pokemon are picked. Like there has to be 3 other 10-year-olds, which
They're all
which
so
raises
cool.
another question.
we never meet the other two 10-year-olds.
Well, and that raises the next question, right?
That's the
As
thing,
well.
yeah.
Why are these 3 kids? Are they all born on the same day? Is this
That's
Ash's
what I've got
birthday?
the question here. The exact thing I've written down is I'm confused about how getting a Pokemon on your 10th birthday works. Do Ash, Gary, and the 2 other trainers all have the same birthday? Or is there just one day a year that a maximum of 3 people can get their Pokemon?
In which
Let's
case,
take
why
this
was
back-
Ash
let's-
not informed? Why was he not informed that there was 2 other people? Is it just first come, first serve? Are there
Exactly.
60 children at this place that are 10 and they're all rocking up on the same day and only 3 of them can get a Pokemon?
My
And
theory
how did
is
they
that his
decide?
mum is a rebel, that there was only ever going to be 3 Pokemon, but she led Ash on to make him believe that there
Delia's,
was going to be
yeah.
a 4th Pokemon,
Well, or-
and he's rocked up having all the other Pokemon taken.
Or is there like a thing where because like they know that there's only a certain amount of Pokemon that you can give away, and if everyone's let's just assume that all these kids are 10 on the same day. Do parents have a chat before they conceive a child and just go, hey, listen, in 9 months I'm gonna have a kid. Can you just wait a bit
And
so
you
that
do that as well.
I've imagined here that the Pokemon world here is very much evocative of the similar time period in Japan where regulations for having kids is very much monitored. So there's probably a day, like a holiday, which is give birth to your 10-year-old day, or conceive your 10-year-old day.
Give birth to your
So
10-year-old.
if you want a child within the next year, you have only one day with which to conceive, which
Yep,
is why
today's
there's
it.
only
Come out
3 kids
10.
in the whole village.
They come out 10 and it's 10 forever.
Only 3 people who tried to conceive on the given holiday managed to succeed.
Oh man.
I think that's a
Which
right
explains
theory. I think
which explains the very limited population of kids
Kanto,
in this
yeah.
town.
That's why there's only 2 houses and a lab in Pallet Town.
But I take your theory, Blake, and then I say, if they knew that it could only be 3 kids, why is there 4?
I don't think they know that it's 3. I think it's we need for the purpose of giving away Pokemon. You have to give birth to your kid or conceive on this specific day so that it lines up appropriately.
No, I've got the answer. That's why Gary didn't know about Ash. Nobody knew about Ash. He was a secret kid that wasn't one.
His
Oh,
mum's a
he
rebel.
was-
my god!
Rebel.
Wow, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Ash was conceived against the law.
He was
Exactly.
hidden from the government by his rebel mum.
Yeah.
That's why his dad's on the run as well.
Yeah. that's it.
Mr. Mime set up a barrier
Oh,
from the
oh,
bullies.
dear.
Uh,
Oh my goodness! All right. Well, I mean, we've talked about that plenty. Now, Ash obviously enters the lab, and Professor Oak's there, and he's choosing his Pokemon, and he selects Squirtle and Bulbasaur and Charmander.
Why does Professor Oak
Yeah.
get his hopes up 3 times in a row? Just tell him there's no Pokemon,
Well,
son.
Professor Oak lets him open them all, and then after every single one, berates him very specifically about how he was late.
Nice Pokemon, asshole. You should try another one. This one will have one for sure.
Oh, this one was taken by someone who was here on time.
I've written down an iconic quote in each episode as well, and that's where this one comes in. The iconic quote for this episode is, "The early bird gets the worm," or in this case, the Pokemon.
I also made a note because I was very confused. The real question is, how on earth did Oak ever get the Pikachu into the ball in the first place?
That's a very good question. Where,
Like he's clearly
yeah, where
he's
did he
also
come
got a
from?
secret he's also got a secret compartment for the mystery Pikachu in the middle that no one knew about.
well,
So it just comes out of nowhere, and then it's got a special tag on it. There's also Japanese kanji on the Pokeballs, which whoever dubbed this anime decided to just leave in randomly.
yeah, I
and
noticed
never
that there's a
seen
lot of Japanese characters in this particular episode. They're on the front of the lab, and they're on his books as well in his room. So
Yeah, they're usually removed and edited for dubs, but I guess
Not
being
this
one
one.
of the original dubs by these companies, they're a bit lazy, so they leave the kanji on the books in the background and signs and Pokeballs in this scenario as well.
But
So
the quality of
it's very
animation
interesting.
might have been that they just were like, well, it's left in here, so we'll just leave it in here because Netflix was like, there's no way we can change this because of the condition.
well, I don't know.
Well, surely they've just got
They would have just taken the Japanese one and
yeah.
just gone over the top of it and just seen if it worked, I guess. I don't know. But that wasn't particularly funny at all, so we'll move on. That was just an interesting statement. Oh yeah, that's a good one. So I've just looked at a note here. So Ash obviously gets electrocuted by Pikachu when eventually he is selected.
It's not Pikachu at the moment. It's Chonkachu.
It
is
is
still
big,
Chonkachu.
Big Chonkachu.
I'm gonna put it out there. I think Pikachu's cutest here than he ever is.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
For the
that's
rest
fair.
of the anime, I like OG Chonkachu.
Love Chonkachu.
So
He is very
so he
cute.
he electrocutes Ash, right? And Oak's standing next to Ash.
A 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, he's a 10-year-old child who presumably his stamina is low. He's just woken up. He gets electrocuted, and instead of calling the hospital or the ambulance, Oak just says, "Shocking. Another pun. At Ash's expense." What? Like, Oak actively dislikes this child. Probably because he was
I think
born
everybody
illegally.
does. He's illegitimate. That's what
No teacher model likes the guy who's here late and causes
his
a ruckus.
PJs.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. We love those kids just as much as the rest of them.
Well, as a teacher, I hate those kids.
As a teacher.
The only
Oh, man.
non-teacher.
The only person who isn't one. And so Ash gets Pikachu and they leave. And then we find that Ash has got a whole bunch of friends and family that have come to see him off. His mum's there with his bag that's been packed, and
Apparently, everyone does in fact get a cheer squad. It's just Gary's was there first.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ash has got some people that know him so well that they're crying. Like, there's a guy with tears in his eyes, and we never see that guy again.
There a guy
They also
without
randomly
eyes?
brought.
Who has eyes? At least he has eyes.
They randomly brought pots and pans to clank with.
Yes,
they
did.
Cheer.
Do you reckon they coordinated that? Was that like a
one
phone
of
call?
One of them's definitely a drying pan.
With how like organized Delia is, she definitely gave them out to that whole crowd.
Yeah, she came with like 6 pots and pans and said,
Yeah.
"Just whack these."
So Gary hires cheerleaders and Mum
And a
hires
limo, yeah.
the local
pots and pans.
people. At least she's keeping it local.
Yeah, that's true. She's providing business to the local.
Also, for someone who seems to be like broken up about her 10-year-old son leaving in the wilderness forever, she's very excited to be rid of him with everything he could possibly need, so he never needs to come back ever.
Yeah, absolutely. he's everything.
I've got a note here for that, just that exact thing. Mum is deaf keen to get rid of him. Professor Oak? Question mark.
It's finally an opportunity for the romance to begin. For the romance.
The 20-year-long conspiracy. Oak? Question mark.
So we eventually get on our way. Pikachu refuses to go on the Pokeball.
Yeah, I've got a note on that one.
Sass
Sorry.
for days.
Pikachu equals Pele? Question mark.
Pele. Yeah,
Did you see his
that ball control? Unbelievable.
I've got a hacky sack champion.
Yeah, he must have been that's right. He must have been an absolute hero at college.
Left foot, right foot.
Well, here's an interesting thing about Pikachu, and again, it's probably something that you didn't notice, but at some point, Ash asks him to just open up his mouth and tell him what's wrong. And Pikachu opens up his mouth, and I swear...
I've got a note there, Pikachu smartass.
His mouth is 50% of his body. He can open his mouth 50% the size of his body. Like, literally, half of his body is just his mouth.
Picture is just a Jigglypuff.
That's got to be a problem, right?
There's got to be some kind of special skill move that Ash just never utilizes.
I don't know.
Yeah, he forgot bite. Instantly.
Yeah, never uses bite.
Those pink rubber gloves, though, I had a note there that those are just hilarious. I forgot that was ever a thing. They last all of, like, 10 seconds before he's like, oh, you hate being tied up. Also, I'll just get rid of these rubber gloves because
you hate
why
being
not?
tied up. Like, no duh, Ash.
Yeah. It's really weird that this wild animal that I'm dragging around by a washing wire doesn't like it. I can't understand why.
It's clearly the clothesline that his mother gave him earlier.
Exactly. He's just like, and that would hurt as well. Like, it's got to be tied up pretty tight, and those washing lines can be. Oh, jeez.
And Pikachu would still prefer that to a Pokeball.
But yeah,
What does that say about Pokemon?
and at one point, I believe Ash is talking to the Pokedex about like whether Pokemon like to go on their balls or not, right? And they say usually they're in a ball, and then Pikachu jumps up and presses a button, and it says, but sometimes they don't like it. Does Pikachu know what's in the Pokedex, or did he just press that button like hopefully that something would come up and?
How did Pikachu know the button was there?
Well.
I made a note here that carries out for the rest of the episode. The Pokedex has great comedic timing, seemingly only to chime in to rub it in when Ash has done something wrong, or to call him an idiot.
Yeah, well, it's like everyone in this.
Dexter is the funniest character in Pokemon.
Every single character so far, apart from Ash, is designed to ridicule this kid, this 10-year-old kid. Every character that has a name is like railing on him. For
Even
the
his
first
Pokemon.
episode. It's
his best friend forever that he's been given for the next 20 years just hates him.
Oh my goodness.
Like, because I've got a note here, like a little bit later. There's a Rattata digging into his backpack, and I've written VDK digging into Ash's backpack, and then the Pokedex says, Rattata only robs stupid kids or something like that.
Trainers,
it's like, and he doesn't ask it anything. It's like what? That's not. Why is he taking my stuff? It's like, and the Pokedex is like, oh, did you say, hey Siri, you're an idiot?
Rattata only steals from stupid trainers. We meet a lot of Pokemon at this point. We see a Pidgey, and we throw some rocks, and we hit a Spearow, and
again he has to check what a Pidgey is, despite the fact it's in his alarm clock.
It's in his alarm clock.
Not only that, sorry, I was just going to say that there's a Star Wars crossover here when Pidgey uses Sand Attack, and Ash hates the sand.
He gets everywhere.
Yeah, he's like
coarse
sand.
And rough.
Yeah.
God, I didn't think it would come to this early, but I think we're gonna have to quit the podcast. That was.
I did make a note that the Pokemon are very
Okay, I'm gonna have to-
accurate for this early.
I'm gonna have to stop. We're gonna call this podcast. I'm gonna make a note because that's all that any of us are saying. I made a note about this actually.
I made a note cast.
I made a note cast.
That's what we'll call it, the Notecast.
Yeah, the note cast, and everyone clicks on expecting it to be the notebook.
For those listening at home, we're obviously very committed to making sure that we've actively recorded what we're seeing.
I'm surprised as anyone. Everyone did a lot of preparation for this.
Committed to the content.
We're gonna get better at chiming in with stuff that we've noted down without saying
I wrote this down.
No.
So we hit the Spearow with the rock, which is a classic move. Like,
Did you see the tear in the eye?
yeah, well,
I feel bad for the Spearow.
He's having a little bit of a cry there. I'd be crying as well if I get hit in the head by a rock. Some kid
It
threw
was
a rock
super
at me.
effective.
Yeah, well, I mean, and then the Spearow attacks, and we get the amazing action of Ash being chased by this Spearow, where he leaps off of a waterfall, which is frankly way too big for anyone to jump off safely.
And then Ash and Pikachu die, the credits roll, and that's the rest of the... That's
well,
it.
I mean, he should die jumping off of that waterfall, which, by the way, he doesn't have to jump down. He could walk somewhere else. He can run somewhere else. And then, in that water, he always gets eaten by a Gyarados, which is like... That's rough, right?
I don't think the Gyarados really cared about him that much. I think he was just going to get run over by it.
I think
don't
he just
Gyarados
swam
was
past.
like, I want to eat you for a meal, you know? We're not making Gyarados out to be predators here, you know?
Yeah,
It was like a Jaws moment. It's like, there's the beastie, watch
The
out.
Gyarados is more scared of Ash than Ash is of the Gyarados.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
we should promote an entire week worth of
It's
viewing material.
It's
about
Gyarados week. Yeah, it's Gyarados week.
Gyarados week.
Hey, listen, we're in Gyarados' natural habitat, and we have to accept that occasionally they're going to get defensive.
Also, did you know that like most animals, when they fall from a certain height, they reach a terminal velocity that can't kill them? So maybe Ash is just like that. He just built different, you know?
He's like a
Maybe he
cat,
It's
right?
just built different.
Ash is
I
built
love,
different.
I love how
Jesus.
He's terminal
educational this has
velocity.
become.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he spent 10 years being abused by everyone that he knows.
He's spent 10 years not knowing anybody that he knows.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, who's this kid? Oh, okay, I have a Pokemon.
Yeah, here you go, whatever.
All the adults probably have Pokedexes, and the Pokedex's like, oh, that's that
That's
idiot
that Ash
Ash.
kid, yeah.
What a dumbass.
What a moron.
Because the Pokedex just hates Ash for some reason.
And then we meet Misty, because Misty catches Ash. And
Yeah, okay, so I forgot that we met Misty this early. Also, she reacts to getting Ash with the fishing rod like she's caught more than one 10-year-old off of that
yeah,
rod.
I know.
Yes.
She catches
Damn
Ash,
it!
not as if she's
another 10-year-old.
not
Damn
as
it!
if
I wanted
she's-
a Magikarp.
not as if she's surprised to have caught him, but more like she's disappointed, right?
Too many 10-year-olds today,
Yeah.
man. I wanted a Magikarp or a horsey or
No,
something.
she wanted that Gyarados.
Yes, the
Gyarados.
Gyarados would have been the one. The whole season would have been a lot more interesting if Misty had a Gyarados instead of a Psyduck. Anyway, then he steals
Didn't get that one to get away in the game.
he
Just
steals
the
the
old-
bike after being told by Misty to get Pikachu to a Pokemon Center because he obviously wasn't intelligent enough to figure that one out. And then suddenly it's pouring with rain.
Well, so he never returns that bike. He says he's gonna, but he never
It
does.
gets destroyed
No,
by
no.
it gets destroyed by the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, but not only that, but you met this girl, you got pulled up by this girl's fishing rod 10 seconds ago, and then you're just like, that's my bike now, peace.
Yep. See you later.
You're gonna love this, Mitch. I've taken a note here. It says Grand Theft. It says Grand Theft Pokemon.
Yeah,
I
fair
said
enough.
Grand Theft Auto! I said Grand Theft Auto! I literally have here Grand Theft Auto. Oh, this is the best podcast ever.
Oh my goodness. Let's not go that far. Let's not go
I
that
love
far.
how in sync we are.
Alex, do you have any more notes?
I have bike thief. That's
I'll throw it out there. At this point of the episode, Alex was ordering dinner, so the notes slowed off slightly. So we
Don't
get
worry, I'll
we
pick
get
it
the
up.
random storm that happens, right? Because the storm just randomly comes through and it's pouring with rain.
Because the story demands it.
And they ride the bike off of the cliffside and they crash and they land in the middle of the road and Pikachu's in danger and Ash stands up and has a big long spiel to the Spearow who stopped chasing him at that moment just to let him monologue. Just-
Yep.
They stop chasing him and they just go, well, this
Go
guy's got
ahead,
he's got some
bleed for
interesting
your
things
life.
to say.
He says, you don't know who I am. They're wild Sparrows.
Yeah,
Of course they don't.
yeah.
Not only that,
They
but
can't
nobody
understand
knows
you.
who he is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who
He's
this
lucky
guy
that his mother knows who he is.
Do you know who I am? Spiro!
Quick question.
What do you
Quick question.
expect?
Is Ash? I'm gonna throw this one to the podcast. Is Ash the most incompetent human being on the planet? He's got a Pokemon. He's had a pet for like 5 minutes. We're gonna say like generously 12 hours at this point, and he's almost killed both himself and the Pokemon. Is he the most incompetent human being on the planet?
If there was an equivalent of Pokemon social services, he would have lost the Pikachu.
Imagine going to the pet store, buying a mouse, and then having it dead within half a day.
He tries to
Definitely
catch a
happened
Pidgey
before.
using a shirt.
He just tries to kidnap her. He goes... Ash displaying Team Rocket potential very
Yeah.
early on in the anime.
I just remembered that. He tries to catch it once with a Pokeball. He goes, well, that
Yeah.
didn't work. Maybe a shirt.
Maybe
Oh, yeah,
it's
and
not
then
even just the shirt, it's a pajama
Yeah.
shirt. It's all his pajamas.
Also, the Pokedex decides to chime in after he throws a Pokeball. Was like, "You're supposed to hurt it first, dummy."
And so instead of doing that, instead of trying to catch the Pokemon, well, here's the thing, right? Catching a Pidgey, this has got to be a level 2 or 3 or 4 Pidgey, right? It's on Route 1. You can catch him with Pokeballs. Just throw another Pokeball. Don't put it in a shirt. Just throw another Pokeball. You'll get it. Just
I don't know.
relax, man.
If we had the ability to use a shirt to catch a Pokemon in the early game of the video game, I probably would have tried that.
Can you imagine if there was a card in the TCG? Shirt.
I did have a query about that.
Pajama
So
shirt.
obviously Ash starts in Pallet Town, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the low-level Pokemon are around Pallet Town.
Yep. Gyarados,
How-
Mankey, etc.
How does a Pokemon trainer who starts in like I don't know, one of the later towns, right? Like Fuchsia or something like that. Where
How do they get their
Pokemon?
Pokemon?
Not how do they get their Pokemon? How do they survive? Like the Pokemon around them are like 10 times the level of anything that they would have.
Yeah,
Well,
but
you-
is that like saying people that grow up in England don't have dangerous spiders, but people in Australia, how are they still alive? Like surely you live in that area.
Yeah, we just
I
level
think
up
you
quicker.
just get to know. You're like, oh, obviously, better not get in the way of the
Well,
terrifying
to be
Pokemon.
fair, I did see a girl playing with a blue ring octopus on her hand today, and
I saw that as well.
yeah, that was pretty brutal. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe Ash not only is completely
Did you say a
incompetent-
Blu-ray octopus?
a blue ring octopus, the Blu-ray octopus.
It plays the best
Yeah.
quality DVDs of Pokemon the anime.
Yeah, I tell you what, these DVDs come out just as HD streaming exists. How convenient. Anyway, Pikachu obviously saves the day. Comes to Ash's aid. He hates the guy, but you know.
Also, why doesn't the professor give Ash some potions as well? Why does he only get Pokeballs?
You only
Surely,
get potions
isn't-
in Gen 2. You only
Ash
get
should have
potions in
just
Gen
gone to his PC in his room and got one
and
out like everyone else.
taken the free potion out. Oh
what,
yeah, obviously.
what Ash should have realized is that there was an NPC on that route somewhere.
Yeah, that gives you one.
Gave him a potion.
If he just bloody spoke to
Didn't
someone.
talk to
But that's the
people.
problem
Yeah,
with youth these days, isn't it?
The girl who works at the Pokemart is clearly somewhere on that route, and if you
He-
talk to her, she would have given you a potion.
He was too busy looking at his Zubat phone to talk to her.
Anyway, you were going to say something?
I was gonna say before Pikachu does the thunder thing, Ash continues to make claims that he never follows up with. He steals
yeah.
the bike, and then he's speaking to the Spearow, and he's like, I am gonna capture you all, I'm gonna own you all, it's gonna be amazing, I'm gonna be the best Pokemon master ever. And then never captures or
Yeah,
ever owns
no.
a Spearow or a Fearow.
No Spiros, no Furos, he just is just a big fat liar.
Spoiler, but
There's so many episodes where he has a chance to catch a Pokemon, and he's like,
Yeah. Well, including this one, right? Where he could have caught any number of those Spiros after Pikachu destroyed them.
He probably could have caught the Spearow he threw a rock at.
Yeah.
He seemed to be very injured by that
The
attack.
first one that took a rock also took a Thunderbolt and then just came straight back up as well. That Spearow was tough.
It's
Yeah,
gotta be
that
like
was a level 5 Spearow for
That was
sure.
yeah, I was about to say that's a 6 or 7 for sure.
Mm.
So Pikachu thunders so hard that it stops raining, and then this is my probably beyond the guy who has no eyes. This is probably my favorite thing that came up in this particular episode. Is like we see the thunder shock and the sun comes out and it pans from the cliff across to where Ash and Pikachu are, and it's just a 10-year-old kid lying face down in the dirt. He's just sat there. Imagine if you're just a guy, you've come to check out. I wonder what that big lightning bolt was, and you walk in and there's just a kid.
It's just a dead 10-year-old and his Pokemon.
10-year-old and a rat.
Flat on his face in the middle of the road. You would go, oh, better not go out of there. Jeez, what's a... Oh.
Do you reckon if Misty had walked upon him at that moment, do you reckon she'd still ask about a bike?
Well, I mean, she could see her bike. It was screwed up. It was done. So
You owe me a bike.
It was bloody
I'm dead
cooked, that
in
one.
the mud.
Oh
You
my
owe me
God.
you owe me a 10-second bike.
Far out. And then they get up and they see the
Oh,
holo
baby!
and then that's it.
Alright, that is such an un-Pokemon-like Easter egg right there, right?
Oh, an actually interesting thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
Well, at that point, Holo wasn't teased, Gen 2 wasn't coming out.
exactly.
There was a very long time between this episode airing and any legendary Pokemon from like Gold or Silver being teased or released at all. So yeah, very odd. I thought they would have chosen like a Mew or something, but they're like, no, let's just show them what one of the Gen 2 legendaries is going to be and have that be randomly seen.
And it meant that they were committed to this Gen 2
Isn't
legendary
that because all of the Gen 2 Pokemon were pretty much already made? They just couldn't fit them in.
Actually.
I think that's why.
Right, that makes sense.
Like they already had them all, but they just
Oh yeah,
didn't
because they
fit
were
them into
limited by memory back then as well.
Yeah, they couldn't
on
fit
the
them because
cartridges.
you used to have to make video games on pieces of string. So
So do you think that...
Yeah.
The cans.
It's also the reason why in Mortal Kombat the characters are reskins because they didn't have enough memory to make different looking characters, so they just changed the colors on the ninjas.
yeah,
so
exactly.
they fit
So
'em in.
because that's the easiest way to go about it. But I think that's the reason why Ho-Oh is there. Is that the only time as well that we see Ho-Oh in the anime? Like, do we
It
never see it
features
again?
later,
Right?
I believe. I think that I've seen this.
Much,
I think
much
it's something
later.
like 250 episodes between Ho-Oh's featuring.
There is a I feel like I've seen a mosaic on a wall somewhere.
Okay, so
In one of the episodes,
I
and
jumped
it's-
ahead. I jumped ahead
Oh my goodness. Well,
into
let's
episode 2.
Blasphemy, you're off the
Do-
podcast.
do you
preview
want-
for next week, guys. Here we go.
Do you want this random fact now? Or
Here
do
we
you
go.
want
Go for it.
So, in the Pokemon Center, spoiler, Ash gets to a Pokemon Center. In the Pokemon Center, there is a mosaic, and it has the 3 Kanto legendary birds on it, and one other Pokemon, which we'll discuss next week, I'm sure. But Ash mistakes Articuno for Ho-Oh. He's like, that's the legendary bird I saw before, and it's not, it's Articuno.
And
Also,
once
for
again,
one, how does he know it's legendary? He just knows it's
Oh, I don't think he
unidentified.
said
He has
no, like, that's what, he's like, I
Okay.
saw that Pokemon, yeah.
and once again, the person at the Pokemon Center goes, "You're an idiot. You're a dumb idiot.
Yeah,
There's no
pretty
way you
much.
could have
the
seen." it."
Pokedex pops out of his back,
Yeah.
and it's just like, that's not Ho-Oh, you dumbass. It's an
You
Articuno.
dumb moron. Anyway, that's for next time. Because that's the end of the episode. That's the whole thing.
No,
I
there's a
also-
Pokemon rap.
Well, there is a Pokemon rap, but you know,
Yeah.
it's
I
Sparksy
didn't
rap.
realize that we didn't get all of it, and we only got bits and pieces.
Yeah, you get a
That is
verse. You
something
get
I
one
forgot.
verse.
You have
Yeah.
to watch Monday through Friday to get
Yeah,
all of
you
it.
get the whole rap over the week.
So I remember, obviously now I remember the poker rap, but I'm not sure if it's a part of the streaming services, but we didn't get a Who's That Pokemon, so I'm disappointed by this
Yeah.
first
That
episode.
doesn't start until halfway through the season, I don't think.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay.
I
As
was-
long as it's still
Because
built
nobody's-
into the Netflix thing,
think
because
it
there's
is.
no actual
Yeah,
commercial.
but nobody's
so.
seen any Pokemon, right? Like you don't even know the
Exactly.
names or half the names of the Pokemon that even attack them. So
Yeah. Ash is like, what's
Mm.
this, a Pidgey? He's seen it 27 times in the episode already. But
This one's in my
what's this
clock,
one?
but I wouldn't
Who's that?
know.
Who's that Pokemon? It's a Jigglypuff. No, it's a Clefairy from the top. Ah, damn it! That's cheating.
I'm looking forward to that episode.
Oh my goodness. Alright, well that's going to be it. I don't know how long we've been talking for. I feel like it's been about 45 minutes or so, but I feel like that's a pretty solid effort. Also, by the way, if you're listening to this and I've got no audio with it, no video with it, then I'm sorry, I just couldn't be bothered. So, just as simple as that.
it's a podcast.
It is a podcast. You've got a pod instead of
Audio
a watch.
pod.
Come on, it's an audio pod. Oh, well there you go. Thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate your
Name our
business.
podcast.
It was fun. The first inaugural episode of the Drying Pan podcast.
Yeah,
Canon.
name the podcast. If you jump into the comments and let me know what you reckon it should be, and the most liked one by whenever we record the second episode. will
No,
be
that's
the name.
a bad idea. Don't make it the most liked one. We've
Why
got
not?
some discretion over it.
Oh, the most liked one will be at the top, and I'll look at it and go, nah.
Look, if you leave it up to the internet, bad things happen because last time they let people name a bottle of Mountain Dew, it got called Hitler literally did nothing wrong. So we can't leave that up for.
And there's our first part of the
Yikes!
And now there's a soundbite for Blake.
Oh boy, that's a big yikes for me. I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you, Alex, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sparksy.
Thank you very much, Fitch. I enjoyed it greatly.
And Blake, I hope that your anti-Semitic views are not.
I said the internet did this.
Are not
I
perpetuated.
disagree.
Blake will not be featuring in the next podcast.
Yeah, he's going to jail. Thank you, Blake.
Fine.
Oh boy, and thank you, listener. We're gonna go now. Goodbye, I guess.
Bye.
This is how you end a podcast, right?
Goodbye, I guess.
The podcast ends now.